have to tell you something. So I actually don't read physical books all that much anymore, and the reason for that is pretty much the same reason why I got the cane. Something that's really strange and hard to explain and even hard to understand for me about my eye disease and how it progresses is that sometimes I can't really tell. I just all of a sudden realized that, hey, I used to be able to see this and now I can't, but it's not like a definitive thing. I think like doctors, well, my doctors, you know, they give me these like, oh, you only have 10 degrees of visual field, and then they give me prescription for my glasses, but I can't really explain how that affects like the day-to-day, I guess. And so when I started noticing that I couldn't really read regular physical books, like let's say, so this book, this is a regular kind of sized paperback that we get here in Australia, and the font in this book is this size. Now I don't know what size number that is. On a good day and on a on like really good lighting, if I'm sitting outside, I might be able to be comfortably reading that, but a lot of the times it's hard, and it's not just because the font is really small, but it's also the spacing between the words also affects me, because on top of, you know, on top of me not having as wide of a visual field, there are other things that is wrong with my eyes, and one of them is that they don't really stop shaking. If you I think my friends only noticed this when Andrew pointed it out to them, but they kind of rotate and they wiggle around, and they kind of rotate on themselves, and it's really weird and it freaks people out sometimes when they notice it. But because of that, it's really hard for me to focus, especially if the font is small. So if I'm trying to read a page and the font is small and there's not enough space between one word and the other, because my eyes are jumping all around, I can't focus on the word, and then I don't know what I'm reading, basically. That's kind of how my reading has changed. So now I mostly read on my Kindle. I am so happy that I got this Kindle a couple of years ago from my brother and my sister, because I use it a lot now. And luckily there is like a low vision setting on my Kindle, which is like that big, and I think it is the same as if you were to get a large print book from like the library or something. I do have one here. So this is a large print book that I found for $2. It's a historical romance by who is it by? Stephanie Lawrence, and this is the font. I hope I didn't flip to a smut scene. But yeah, that's the font, which I really like. But if I were to only buy large print books from like physically from bookstores and stuff, or even online, they cost around about $50 to $70. So I don't do that, but there are, you know, there are some other books that I can read. So a lot of these like historical romances, so I'm just going to pull out this one by Julia Quinn, and a lot of these historical romances, even though the font is small-ish, there's a plane. Anyway, so even though the font is pretty small in this, it's not too bad. I do find that a lot of the romances, I don't know if it's like the same publisher or something, but a lot of the romance books that I do find secondhand, they have their text is like in sort of a bolded font, which is really helpful for me, because that's the other issue with the like these kind of books, these regular paperbacks, is not only is the font small, but it's the font type that they use is like really thin strokes, and it's almost as if they don't use like actual jet black ink anymore. I think they kind of use, it's like a grayish, I don't know, it's just not as visible to me, and it's really frustrating, to be honest. So yeah, so that's one way I've been reading, is mostly on my Kindle, but also I use my audiobooks a lot more. So I have Audible, which is my favorite thing. I think I did a video a couple of years ago about audiobooks, and I was kind of ranting about how there was this whole discussion that always comes up every now and again where people are saying, oh, if you listen to audiobooks, that's not real reading, and I understand that when they say that, they're talking about the people that skim read or like read things in 2 times speed or something like that. But first of all, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, if you are understanding the story that you're listening to, how is that cheating or something, you know? And secondly, I need audiobooks. People with low vision, people who have a visual impairment, just people who are blind in general, or like maybe people that struggle reading physically because of some other reasons, audiobook is a really good thing, and I don't understand why there was that whole big discussion. But I think in that I mentioned that I used to use Scribd, and I used to find audiobooks on YouTube. I do now just get Audible, and I do just listen to Audible, even though I do pay a subscription for that. I find that it's pretty worth it for me now, because I don't buy physical books brand new anymore anyway. A lot of the times it's just whatever I find secondhand, and even when I do find it secondhand now, I look at the font, and if the font isn't good enough for me to read, I don't get it. So like, I find that like paying $16 for Audible is worth it for me, because I'm not really paying that much for physical books anymore. Yeah, that's kind of how things have changed. So if you see me kind of not pulling up books, you know, that much anymore when I review them, that's pretty much why. I felt I don't know why, but I always just felt, I've been a reader my whole life, and I love physical books. I love being surrounded by physical books. I love collecting physical books. Well, I used to, but since my reading has changed and the way I read has changed, I've had to sort of like deal with that, and it's been a bit of a struggle, because I love holding a book. I love just like walking around and like sitting outside or something, and then like pulling my book out, and it's just, I don't know, I used to do that all the time. I used to be on trains and I would just like read on trains, but I always had this sort of like, you know, everyone used to have this idea about like ebooks and how it's not as good as the physical books or whatever, but it's like, it's the most accessible thing for me nowadays. So I just need to like reprogram my brain into thinking like, I'm still a reader, just because I don't collect as many books anymore, and because all of the books that you see around here are all mostly Andrew's books. I have these two shelves because, like I said, I have this one and then the bottom one because yeah, there's not a lot of like books physically that I can read anymore. So a lot of the ones that are on my shelf I've collected for a while. Like I read them ages ago and I kept them, and just because I don't read physical books anymore doesn't make me less of a reader as anyone else. I don't know. I know like if someone were to have this complaint and this discussion to me, I would be the one being like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, you're still a reader, you're still a legit reader. But for some reason, for myself, I'm like finding it hard to accept it, I guess. And I think the other thing is, like, Andrew and I love going book hunting. Like, that's what we do when we go away and we go camping, or we stay in a small town. Like, our favorite thing to do is to browse the op shops and the secondhand bookshops in that small town. And, you know, obviously we both love books, so that's kind of our main thing that we like to do sometimes, which I still like to do. I just can't help but get a little bit sad sometimes, because I'm like, oh well, it doesn't matter if I can find like the book that I would like to read, because there's mostly a likely chance that the font will be too small and I wouldn't be able to read it. So what's the point, you know? And I need to, I don't know, I need to like deal with that a little bit, because I still like doing it. It's still really fun, even if I don't get anything, which a lot of the times I don't. It's still like a fun thing. And I don't know, there's just, yeah, I'm just trying to deal with a lot of the changes with my eyes and be okay with it. Yeah, I think, yeah, like, yeah, I don't know, I think it was that whole like book collecting side of me that I really miss, because now, yeah, I can still collect books, I can still buy physical copies of books that I like, but sometimes I just don't feel like it's worth the money, even if it is just like $1, $2 or $3, because I'm like, well, I'm never gonna, even if I want to reread that book, I'm probably not gonna do that physically. So what's the point in having a physical copy of it? I don't know. I need to look at my Kindle more as a bookshelf and be happy with that. I think the Kindle is still allowing me to read a book physically and like read the words on the page. It just helps me with the font size so that I can see it a lot more, because if a font is too small, then I don't read as much, because I don't, like, my eyes get too tired. So I just like the cane, I need to look at the Kindle as like a helpful tool to help me do one of my favorite hobbies, which is reading. And I think the other reason that I've been a little bit like reluctant to make the Kindle my main reading thing, I guess, is tool, that's the word, is because I love annotating in my books. When I'm reading something, I love underlining, and I love highlighting, and I love writing little notes in the margins. Like, let me see, because The Simple Wild is one of my favorite books. Well, yeah, it's not my favorite, but I used to really I remember really loving it when I finished reading it, and I do want to reread this, but I can't. I can no longer read the font. So Andrew actually found the ebook for it, because I tried to find the ebook for this book on the Kindle store and I couldn't find it anywhere for some reason. Like, it's not available, maybe it's not available in Australia or something, but I also couldn't find it on audio either. Again, maybe it's just Australian that I couldn't find it, but Andrew found the ebook for it, so I'm excited to reread that. I was going to show you some annotations, but I can't find them. So yeah, like that's what I used to love to do with my physical books, and I think I just need to get used to doing my annotations on the Kindle. I don't know, this is a strange discussion, but I kind of just wanted to share my struggles with getting used to how my eyes have changed, because like I said, it's with RP, retinitis pigmentosa, it's not something that is just instantly like, oh, this happened, like now you can't see this. It's very, very, very gradual. And the good thing about my RP in particular is that it's been pretty slow. All my life it's been pretty slow, so that's the good thing, that I still have some remaining vision. But I guess the struggle is that I can't tell sometimes if something is because of my eyes, or if it's because my eyes are tired, or if it's because of the change in the environment that I'm doing something in. I'm realizing that no, I think it's just my eyes changing, and that's okay. We just, you know, we figure that out, and then we deal with it. So yeah, I just it's just one of those videos that I feel like I just kind of needed to say it out loud, so I can be okay with, I can accept it myself, you know. Yeah, anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.